Should I stay or should I go? That is the big question, and I get it, this is a topic that you can say is not really relevant until next year, but we've already talked about Draisaitl, we talked about him and potentially his contract situation, how it will round out. So let's go out there and respond to some of the ideas that have popped around the NHL social media world in regards to Connor McDavid, because this is, of course, the part 2 of the Edmonton Oilers' big contract situation, the second part of what they'll have to deal with after Leon Draisaitl gets his contract potentially extended or potentially traded or potentially expired by the end of next season. So let's talk about Connor Mac and go over some of the possibilities here. Let's talk about some of the things that other NHL people have said. Connor McDavid, 27 years old, his contract at $12.5 million a year expires at the end of 2026. So he's got 2 more seasons upcoming before that contract needs a renewal. He will be eligible to sign an extension by this time next year. McDavid had 132 points in 76 games played last season, 153 points in 82 games played the year before that, 123 points the year before that, and 105 points the year before that, most notably in 56 games played. He had 42 points in 25 games played in the playoffs this previous year, winning the Conn Smythe on a losing team and becoming the second ever forward to do so. Long story short, he is amazing, and there isn't really anything that's going to go out there and dispute that. He is the best player in the world, everybody knows this, but because he is the best player in the world, there is some reasonable panic that one may have if they consider the idea of Connor McDavid and his future in Edmonton potentially not continuing. It's going to depend on a few things. It's going to depend on Leon Draisaitl, whether or not he decides to stay or go. If Draisaitl comes back, then of course that's a lot more ammo for Connor McDavid to team up and join with his buddy Leon once more. If Evan Bouchard, for some reason, gets signed before Draisaitl does, then okay, that's another piece in the clip to keep McDavid from leaving. But when it comes to the possibilities of either of these guys not sticking around, it opens the door as to whether or not McDavid leaving is a possibility too. Let's go out there and look at some comments made. This is the Spit and Chicklets crew. They ended up talking about this back in November. If McDavid doesn't play for the Oilers after this contract, he'll be the most hated man by that fan base for the rest of eternity. And the Chicklets guys, they talked about it. They pretty much brought up the same points, like if Draisaitl leaves, what are the odds that Connor McDavid decides to leave too? Would McDavid want to play on a team that was pretty much built around him if there isn't a Leon there? I mean, you talk about the guys that were brought in, the coaching staff, the extra forwards on the team, the surrounding personnel here. A lot of the Oilers and their construction was constructed because of Connor McDavid. Like, if Connor McDavid wasn't Connor McDavid, the Oilers probably don't go down some of the hirings and signings that they have gone through. It's pretty obvious, to be honest. So, if Edmonton goes through all this trouble to create a team that is Connor McDavid's perfect team, everybody that is on the team is built for him, everybody in the coaching staff is there to support him, and he decides to up and away leave anyway, that puts the Oilers in an even worse spot than you could even say before they acquired McDavid, because they've got all this stuff that was tailor-made for him, but if he decides that he doesn't care about it and he's going to go somewhere else, then well, you're kind of crap out of luck. You've got all these players, you've got all these executives, you need to make some changes, you need to change that identity. Okay, maybe it won't be as bad as the Decade of Darkness or whatever, but either way, there is still the idea that says that Connor McDavid and the Oilers kind of need each other, in a way. But we also had ourselves another segment that I wanted to bring up as well. This was what Chris Johnston said on Connor McDavid earlier. I don't know when this was, but I'm looking at an article from HockeyPatrol.com from July 9th. Here are some comments reportedly made by TSN's Chris Johnston. I don't think that Connor McDavid is thinking about leaving. He doesn't have to think about it yet because the 2 dominoes have yet to fall. He can't make a decision till next July 1st anyway. He couldn't sign a contract today if he wanted. He could say to the Oilers, I would sign a lifetime contract, but they're not legally allowed to do it. So this Draisaitl situation will play out in full or in part before that happens. This is where I think it's interesting for the Oilers. Internally, I don't know if everybody's in full alignment on what to do. But if Leon comes back and says, I don't know if I want to sign a contract this summer, part of the debate, I believe, is we can't walk him to free agency because then next summer when Connor is making his decision, it's potentially when Leon's walking out the door. He continued. So with this in mind, it seems like Draisaitl has no choice but to sign a contract extension early if he wants to stay with the Edmonton Oilers, because if they go into the 2025 trade deadline period and Draisaitl doesn't have an extension, the Oilers might have no choice but to say, okay, Leon, we have to trade you. Like, we need to get this contract done, or else you're going to go to free agency, you're not going to get a contract done, and Connor McDavid, who is going to be eligible to sign in July 1st of 2025, is not going to have any reason to sign if you're not signed. So we need to get something for you. That's it. Leon Draisaitl does have a modified no-trade clause and a no-move clause heading into the 2025 season, so he is possible to get traded if you ask him and he says okay. But at the same time, if it's like, yeah, Draisaitl has not signed an extension by February of 2025, maybe at that point he's okay to getting traded anyway. The Oilers will probably be a good enough team to stick around in the playoff race, so I don't really think that's an issue. It's just, it's everything beyond that. This is more than just on the ice, performance-based, okay, they're winning and losing games. This is, hey, we don't have you locked up for the next however many years. You're only on our payroll until June. So therein lies the problem. Is this going to be a Johnny Gaudreau situation, even if Draisaitl expresses that he would like to stay in Edmonton and he would sign a contract with Edmonton? By the time free agency opens up, all bets are off the table. You rarely see a guy like Patrick Kane go out there and say, yeah, I like it here, I like playing here, I like it, and then he goes to free agency and then he signs back. Like, that rarely happens. And for a guy like Leon Draisaitl, who's to stop a team from offering this guy $15 million gosh darn dollars in the open market? I mean, there are some bottom feeder NHL teams that would be totally okay with that. Have Connor Bedard and Leon Draisaitl playing together. Have Macklin, Celebrini, and Leon Draisaitl playing together. They could offer him as much money as he wants, more money than any other team could offer him, especially the Edmonton Oilers. So for Leon, this really does seem like the big precursor to whatever Connor McDavid is going to do, because if Connor Mac is going to be entering July 1st of 2025 with the eligibility of signing a contract extension, but Leon Draisaitl is off in Chicago playing with Bedard, it makes his decision to re-sign in Edmonton a lot more difficult, and I think there's reasonable levels of doubt that you can have in the Oilers staff right now, because, you know, they don't have a GM to get this done properly and to actually make it work. Leon Draisaitl just got engaged today, so big happy celebration and congrats over to him. But as the next few days go on, we'll see whether or not the Oilers and Draisaitl are able to work anything out, and if that acts as a big push for Connor McDavid to decide to stick around as well. I mean, of course, we have to wait till next year before we can really dive into that. Yeah, we'll be making videos about this the entire year. Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and everybody else in between. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Leon Draisaitl extension affecting Connor McDavid's potential to leave? Do you think McDavid is going to make it? Do you think he's going to make that decision to leave? What other K-dramas do you like to go out there and watch? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.